Hey everybody, it's Stephanie Boozer with CUGC HQ. Welcome to today's webinar with Liquidware. Before we get started, just wanted to point out a few of our upcoming events. Our very last XL event of 2021 is next week. It's CUGC XL West. I know Liquidware, you're going to be there. I know you'll have a booth and a short presentation, so definitely look at that. We have a bunch of new speakers were added this week, and it's a really great afternoon. So you don't want to miss that. And also, just as you can see, we still have lots of local group meetings happening through the end of the year. So head on over to our calendar, the link's in the chat, and see if you have one coming up for you. All right, so today we are going to be talking about FlexApp One with Liquidware, and I know it's not just a presentation. We've also got demos in store for us this afternoon, so so stay tuned for those. Just a couple reminders for you. We are recording today's presentation, and I'll send you the link to that recording tomorrow. It's going to come directly from GoToWebinar, so watch out for that. Also, submit your questions anytime. We're going to most likely save them for the end, but we do want you to submit them as you have them so you don't forget them. And finally, I will have a short survey for you afterwards to fill out. It's short and anonymous and for our use only. And I just want to introduce, I've introduced Jason Smith several times, but Jason Smith, welcome back to CUGC webinar stage. He's the VP of Products and Alliances at Liquidware. Hi, Jason.
Hey, thanks for having us.
And new on my webinar stage is Adam Rue, although I think he's done some CUGC events in the past. Adam is a solutions architect at Liquidware, and I think he's going to be handling the demo portion. So hello, Adam. And keeping an eye on all of your amazing questions, as I know you're going to have some really good ones for us today, is Bart Jacobs. He is a CTP. Hello, Bart.
Hello, glad to be back.
Thanks for being with us, guys. I'm going to turn things over to Jason now. So Jason, let me send you the screen. Here it comes. And I'm going to disappear for a second, and I'll be back later.
Thanks, Stephanie. All right. Quick confirmation that you see everything, Adam?
Yep, everything's showing.
Great. So we're so pleased to be a sponsor of the CUGC, be here with Stephanie and Bart, and I'm glad to have Adam with me, as it's always good to have another set of more powerful technical eyes and ears to do a demo with us. Field experience that Adam has is amazing out there. He's worked for some well-known integrators before joining Liquidware, and he's got experience in the UEM space. We call that user environment management, although user endpoint management might be another acronym by some people in this industry. But today we're going to focus on what's new with FlexApp. You may have seen in the last 2 months or so that we announced a new feature set called FlexApp One. So we are going to talk about that a bit, but we can't talk about FlexApp One without saying what FlexApp is in general, because once you are a customer of FlexApp, you also get FlexApp One. So you get, it's an extension of the solution, and it adds significant functionality for Citrix environments in any Windows environment, including physical desktops. You can layer the physical desktops. We've been involved with the CUGC since the first year that CUGC became organized. We were one of, I believe, 8 initial sponsors, and gladly supported that effort. And we've gotten so much out of it. We hope that you have as well. As said, Adam and I will be handling today's presentation. A little bit about Liquidware before we get started. So I want you to know who we are. We always level set to tell you who we are. We've been in business since 2009, when the VDI part of this industry came online, virtual desktop infrastructure. And in that case, let's relate it to Zen Desktop. About within a year of that, we were in business as Liquidware. The solutions leading up to that, our Profile Unity UEM solution had already been around for a handful of years. Liquidware folded in a company that I was involved with, and also folded in a company called VMsite to bring to bring Stratosphere in. So we immediately had solutions that could assess the environment. We had solutions that could manage the environment and migrate you from a traditional desktop to a virtual desktop, or in those days, for what became known as Zen App to Zen Desktop, if that's the move you wanted to make, or from physical desktops to that. And then we added application layering just a couple of years later with the solution we'll talk about today as FlexApp. And these solutions are known collectively as Liquidware Essentials. They're essential to having an adaptive and digital workspace management environment that'll flow across any Windows environment. So you may think to yourself, Liquidware, they have these solutions that are also similar to some things that are built into Citrix or some of the other platforms out there. Yes, that's true. Citrix has some monitoring. Citrix has some ways to make a profile stick. Citrix has a product called App Layering. We'll mention how we work alongside that today, but our solutions will go above the use cases in many of those to support not only your Citrix desktops, but all of your Windows desktops. Because after all, if you're managing with Liquidware's digital workspace management suite, you can onboard more users to Citrix at any time. And we saw this happen in the case of the start of the pandemic last year, where many of our customers, they had licenses for their Citrix environment, but all of a sudden they had to send home thousands of additional workers to work from anywhere, work from home, and they added Citrix licenses. So literally they logged off on a Friday from their desktops because they were already using our user environment management that works across all Windows environments. And then on a Monday, they were told how to get the Citrix agent to their desktop to work from home if they didn't already have it, and they were able to log into that environment by adding, because the administrators added significant additional licenses to take care of those use cases, and because they're hitting the same Active Directory domain, the profile Unity bit was ringing true, so user environment management was coming over. Some of our customers also using our app layering. Those applications dynamically and elastically came over to those environments, and then we were able to monitor those environments with Stratosphere UX. So they flipped a switch within a few days, and we were using for years the moniker adaptive workspace management. Digital workspace management has become more of a trend. We're going into that, but we've not changed our stripes to match the occasion. We've always been in the business of supporting all your Windows desktops so you can dynamically move to your next desktop at any time. That might be to Windows 10 to Windows 11 as well within the next year or so. It might be from Windows 7. Maybe you're still on Windows 7 to 10. That's okay. We'll help you coexist those environments. Users never down. We light them back up in the new environment. Oftentimes that's Citrix running on Azure, for example. Then you can leverage your AVD entitlements and everything else like that. Even if you want to use FS Logics will make a profile stick, and we will remediate profile changes in seconds at login. The user's never down. So that's the bigger use case, the bigger picture against the tools that we might be out there that you have access to, but then take in mind that we work across all your Windows desktops, and you'll see today we have features and benefits that you won't find in standard tools. FlexApp. FlexApp One, we're going to talk about for sure. I'll even mention it on this slide, but let me tell you what FlexApp is. It is dynamic application delivery. Some people would say elastic application delivery for all your Windows desktops, okay? So once you package an application, it's always ready to go to any other Windows desktop. Windows 7 and forward, all the server versions like Server 2019, 22, all those, that package can work without having to be repackaged. So it's really separated out from the OS delivery. Now that's a key difference in Citrix app layering right there. And we'll talk about the occasion that many of our customers have seen that they could use the two solutions together, but we're not concerned with FlexApp with your OS base image itself and the patches from Microsoft. Our methodology says you leave those best practices to keeping up with the base images just for the OS, and for some core apps, maybe Microsoft Office. Now you could use FlexApp for that, but why not put it in the base image? Because almost all the time, all users need access to that. Once you've done that, you're focusing on just your OS patches and just for your core apps. And then departmentally, you can bring in these apps that are not tied to the base image. And when we don't tie them to a base image, they'll work across all versions of Windows from Windows 7 and forward. So all that time that you might think it is time consuming to package applications, number one, that's not the case with FlexApp. But secondly, you won't have to repackage them every time you have a significant OS change. And that is time consuming, not very efficient. If you've been through that process, you know that it can be frustrating. So that's not the case. The layers are flexible and they'll come in at system login, system boot time. We can even put a stub icon on the desktop by a context-aware basis. For example, the accounting department gets their apps, and maybe it's an app that they wouldn't use. Maybe it's an app that they wouldn't use, but occasionally, and then it could be a click to layer. Unless they click on it, it doesn't actually layer into that environment. So it's like applications on demand. And then we've got this new feature called FlexApp One. I've got a slide that focuses on that in a moment, but in a smaller nutshell, what that does is it containerizes the app and everything that's needed on one VHDX, for example, and then you can send that to anybody by any means necessary, and they never have to have any liquidware agent on their machine at all. Think about that as the way that you'd seen some technologies work in the past for application isolation, but that's not what this is. It's a containerized app. I could send you any app, any Windows app in the world, and you could double click on this single executable container that I send you, and it will mount a VHDX to your local hard disk, to your local machine and become a virtual hard drive, and it will activate our filter driver if it's not already there, because it's all encompassed, and you'll be off and running. We've done this with very powerful and complex applications like Camtasia. In marketing, I do a lot of videos on that, so using that solution, and I've even done a lot of our marketing videos as that being a FlexApp container. So you can do CAD CAM, you can do very complicated things with that with FlexApp, and you can do it with FlexApp One, and you can do it with traditional FlexApp. We'll talk about when to use the two different throughout today, but this also supports a work from anywhere strategy. So imagine in the pandemic, if you didn't have everything fully hooked up, you just needed to get an app out to people as soon as possible. FlexApp One could be a great use case for that. And you send it, you put it in a file share where they can download it on the cloud drive. They download it, and when they double click it, it's going to have that application, whatever you've packaged up, in that environment. FlexApp One also enables you to use Microsoft Endpoint Configuration Manager, used to be known as Intune, and you can just distribute this single container that way. That way you don't need any additional infrastructure. You don't need our FlexApp management console. You don't need any part of our UEM solution out there or anything. You can just push packages out that way. So it's in your normal stream of the way that you deliver things. FlexApp supports multi-cloud staging, so you can use any of the clouds out there, all three of the big ones, including Microsoft Azure, and you can host your applications out there without using file shares. So it's very straightforward in that way. And there's been organizations like What Matrix. It's an independent one. We don't pay for any advertising or sponsorship on that. They have leaders in application layering, for example, identifying who the players are out there, and they've chosen FlexApp as the #1 app layering pick in the industry, and this is over and above platform solutions. So don't take our word for it, take the industry leaders for it, word for it, and you can see that we've won multiple awards for our innovation. The things that we'll show you today, you won't find in standard app layering solutions. So what are these challenges that we're overcoming? You know, the challenges that you face daily, I'm going to just cite some of those out loud. You already probably feel the pain there. But base image management to install applications is time consuming. You have to continually open base images. You have to keep them separate, sometimes by department. So you'll have one for your accounting department, one for your HR department, and so on and so on. And then when you're doing all the base image changes for OS patches and updates in the applications they need, you're continually doing base image management. But what if you took those applications out and then you assign them dynamically and they don't tattoo the base image? They don't change it in any way. The #1 feature of FlexApp is that you're keeping base images clean. I'll pause there for a second for you to really realize that we're keeping base images clean. And by doing that, you're going to streamline the way you manage base images. You still use PVS if you want to, and a lot of organizations do, but then let your applications come in separately to that. Let them be attached. That way they're not encumbered. They don't also slow down from the normal Windows rot, you know, when you're installing applications, uninstalling applications. Sometimes services get left behind. Sometimes registry keys get left behind. That's not the case with FlexApp. A local filter driver to that server or that PC is what makes the application look like it's installed. It's not isolated in any way. That way it can interact with other apps and be very compatibility, over 90% compatibility rate. Say that again too. a 90% compatibility rate. People are asking us, how are we different than MSIX App Attach? Well, MSIX right now only has a compatibility rating of somewhere between 30, best case, or worst case, to 60%. And that is, things may break up to that 60% too. So it's closer to 30%. This will take care of 90% of your applications, and then you can streamline. So that's a common question out there as well. So that updating and installing apps, uninstalling apps is very time consuming. And then when you compound that by your enterprise, you're thinking, I have hundreds of applications. Can I do it this way? You sure can, and that's what it's built for. We actually have signed many enterprise deals this past year that have dozens or hundreds of applications. And I'm going to leak a little about what I'm going to talk about. We have packaging automation that will plow through all these applications over a weekend, and then you can test them and they'll work. So we have these innovations in there that'll help you out. So base image management becomes lightweight. There's far less images required. Maybe you could even get down to one base image. You know, the OS, Microsoft Office, and other apps that everybody needs in a base image, and then everything else is a FlexApp, for example. They don't have Windows right then. They're going to run faster. Applications don't need to be reinstalled or repackaged every time you have OS changes either. They're going to work. If the app supports it, it's going to work. If the app supports the Windows 7, 10, and 11 out of the box, and most do, and server versions as well, then it's going to work. You don't have to repackage those. So Windows enterprises that have dozens and hundreds of applications are the ones that stand to benefit the most, because that's where the problem's compounded by many base images and hundreds of applications. So feature benefits in a nutshell: we can package applications and package them once. We can even automate that process too, and I'll focus on that in a slide coming up. We have admin role-based access, so you can just say this person's allowed to package applications, and this person's allowed to assign them in your organization. So for large organizations, that's built out. We can do auditing, so you can see who rolled out what applications or what group. Application rights management and user rights management is an extension of our UEM solution. So if you license both, you're going to have access to raise privileges. If you need to raise them for a specific app, you're going to be able to whitelist and blacklist applications and keep them from running by doing that for certain users that don't need the app, if you want to approach it that way. So you're going to get, you're also going to get registry management if you need that, to do registry fix-ups for any app, not just FlexApp. Any app you push out, get rid of run once dialog boxes and things like that that you might not have taken care of. You're going to be able to do that. And our registry management, very powerful, being able to run at a local machine level in a very secure way. The fast packaging, application layering may have got a bad rap in years past, but if you look at the way FlexApp's always done its packaging, it's done in real time. It's done the way that if you're installing an app, that's about the amount of time it takes to package up an app or containerize it on a VHDX. Once it's containerized, it's considered ready to go. Of course, you want to test it real quick, but we call that fast packaging, because other solutions in the market may take up to an hour to package one app, and we can take something that takes 10 minutes to install or 7 minutes to install usually. That's how long it's going to take to package. Context awareness is out there, so you can do app assignments by time of day, by group, anything in Active Directory. You can slice and dice that up to 244 different ways and filters that you can assign applications. You end up with a central console for both app layering, and if you're doing our UEM solution, you have all that pulled together through our Liquidware Unified Management Console. And then FlexApp One that we'll focus on, that is a feature you won't see from anybody else in the market. That's that containerized application and innovation. You can distribute an app through I started to say SCCM, but known under another name, Unified Management from Microsoft Endpoint Unified Management. FlexApp Package Automation shipped just a couple months ago. And what that does is it takes what may be a time-consuming process, albeit fast, as I've described it. But if you have dozens or hundreds of applications, now you can point to a directory of applications. We even work with silent switches from all the vendors, silent install switches. So if you've packaged up or distributed applications before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We work with those as well. We'll run through those overnight. You come back in the next morning and they're done. Run through them over a weekend and they're done. So this really helps speed the process of getting your applications out there and the testing process and getting users productive. We work with any type of executable that's in the market today, any Windows type of application. The way that this happens is that we will spin up with you several capture machines. Virtual machines is what these usually are, and they can all be running at the same time. So they're looking at the executables you want to package, they're logging them with the central database, and they're saying, I've got this one, I'm going to take care of it, packages up, ultimately gets on the VHDX, and it will store it to wherever you wanted it stored, maybe in object-based storage, maybe on-prem storage. It's up to you. And then it'll make our unified console available to say, this package is ready to go. Then you can assign it by group. So package automation, that's not available for everybody, from everybody in the market. It's a new innovation from us, and it is a specific advantage for big enterprises. It's easy enough to package up one app at a time, but if you want to go through dozens or hundreds of apps, that's a great way to do it. FlexApp One, we also just delivered this in August. It's a feature set of FlexApp. So FlexApp, if you want FlexApp One, you need to also be a customer of FlexApp in general, and that's why we're talking about them both today. You end up with more or less one file per app, although you could use it and put many applications on there. Best practices, we would say one file per app, keeps it dynamic, send somebody the app they need, they can download it, or you can distribute it through SCCM or Endpoint Manager and get that out there. You could even put it on a thumb drive, hand it to people. So it is distributing a package by any means necessary. Nothing else is needed except for that package. It self-launches. No agent was needed on the endpoint. It activates a service and it's ready to go. So again, FlexApp One, there's nothing else like it in the market. Now there's some application isolation, old technology from VMware and Microsoft that did similar things, but that's isolation in a bubble. FlexApp's very native, so your compatibility rating is very high on the types of apps that you can do with this. So again, distribute a package by any means necessary, and it will even run on physical desktops. I'm running a FlexApp One package on a physical desktop here in my own home. It's a Camtasia app, and I've been able to do many other apps, very complex apps like Creative Suite and things like that, easy to do, and that speaks to the compatibility rating there. So when would you use FlexApp versus FlexApp One? There is some overlap where you could use both at any time, and those use cases are first in this list. The first 6 there are the same. You could use either one. So you're attaching an application to keep base images clean. Remember, I said that's the #1 benefit of FlexApp. Your base images don't suffer from Windows rot. You don't have to modify the base image. They're easy and fast to package for both. The high compatibility rating works for both. Does the workspace stay connected? Is it online? You could still use both. Now, if the workspace goes offline or may go offline, maybe you're on an airplane and you want access to a layered app. That's a use case for FlexApp One, for example. Maybe you're camping with your family, but you still got to check in and get some work done from time to time. Your internet connection's intermittent. That's a great use case for FlexApp One. Do you want to distribute packages by Endpoint Manager? That's a great use case for FlexApp One. Do you need our UEM features that are by proxy an extension of FlexApp? Do you want to leverage privilege elevation? Do you want to make registry modifications? Do you want to fully track where every application has gone and who has access to it? And do you need to do auditing? Those are all cases for FlexApp. So hope that made it more clear when you would use FlexApp One. Mainly to recap, it's an offline use case, or it may go offline use case, and it's also distribute by any means possible use case, and that includes file shares or Endpoint Manager, for example. I'm going to reintroduce Adam Rue here. He's going to talk about our architecture of FlexApp, the bigger picture, right? Because the architecture for FlexApp One is very simple. It's a containerized app that you give to somebody and it launches and works. But for FlexApp One, Adam, would you recap this slide and tell about the architecture?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. So obviously you would need your FlexApp service installed on your VDAs or your master Citrix image. It is just a service, usually lives out in the net logon shares for the built-in redundancy. Can be also be deployed by a GPO. Next, we would assign a configuration coming from the Liquidware console or Profile Unity console, and that's that can be done through AD users, groups, or even advanced filtering, IP address. Say I only want this to assign to an ICA client. So we definitely have some advanced filtering, and all that's done through the Profile Unity console, unless you're using FlexApp One, which can then be distributed through other means. And then your apps are delivered on a per user context, or even a per machine context if you choose to go by boot. And we do have some session isolation there. So say you install this on your VDAs, and you're using desktops, and you only want certain users to have access to it. You don't have to segment out who gets access to those VDAs. We can isolate that application to only the users who have access to it. And then next, those applications are presented to the user. Both the built-in applications on your base image or your VDA, and any applications coming from FlexApp will be presented to the users. So really, we have a Profile Unity console where we go through and set assignments. We can also set assignments through the Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops interface, Citrix Studio, and then we leverage file shares to store your VHDs. And that's really the architecture you need to control FlexApp and Profile Unity.
So one thing I like to say about our architecture is you usually don't have to procure even one additional thing, right? There's no SQL servers in here. There's no additional hardware. It can run on virtual servers. Even the unified management console for FlexApp, Profile Unity, it can run on a Windows server that's doing other things, that has a little bit of bandwidth to run the web services we need. Storage, you do need and have to allocate, but you can spin up storage or allocate storage in the cloud even for FlexApp. So if you want a proof of concept running of our layering, of our FlexApp layering, it can happen in, am I overstating to say as little as an hour and a half? Adam?
Usually it takes about 90 minutes to get Profile Unity FlexApp installed, build out your packaging console, and have you packaging and delivering applications within 90 minutes.
We even include some cloud apps as well, right? A few open source apps, so you can test it out. You don't even have to package the app. You can.
Correct. Yeah, those come from S3 storage out in Virginia. So
yep.
Sometimes speed can be an issue with those, but it's great if you just want to test the solution and see how it works.
Right. I don't think we asked the poll question earlier. I'm going to flip back so Stephanie can ask it, and then we'll ask the second one. But curious with this poll question, Stephanie, I went right past this after I put a marker in here.
I almost stopped you, but you were on such a roll, I didn't want to interrupt.
So at this point, I was asking, I was talking about the different ways and the different technologies out there. Stephanie, you want to read the question out loud if you see it? I can't see it.
Yes, so do you run any application isolation technology in your environment, such as AppV or VMware ThinApp?
Yep. So we're interested to see, if you'd used precursors to app layering, such as AppV, VMware's ThinApp, and of course AppV is nearly end of life now, if not already end of life. The new thing is MSIX. I believe they're focusing on. It's even the same teams over there at Microsoft.
And I don't know if you can see the results, Jason, but I just popped them up. So 56% were no and 44 were yes.
Okay, that's great. Great data. About half. Yep, Adam, would you like to start the demo portion today? We'll ask the other follow-up poll in a moment.
Yeah, not a problem.
Well, Bart, what did you think so far? You looking forward to the demo?
Yeah, demos are always cool, especially live ones.
Yeah.
Stephanie, can I get access to share my screens?
Yes, I'm so sorry. And I heard Jason say it, and then I was like, oh, it's not switching. There you go.
Thank you.
Looks good.
All right, thanks guys. All right, so as Jason kind of talked about, we'll kind of focus in on FlexApp One here in a second, but to understand FlexApp One, we need to understand FlexApp and how do we package and deliver these applications traditionally, and how does FlexApp One kind of revolutionize the way that we've always done things. So what you're looking at here is my FlexApp packaging console. It's stripped down version of Windows. Basically I've run the Citrix optimizer against it. I don't really have anything installed out here. And I'm going to actually, have Office 365 out here because that's going to be on my base image. Maybe I want to, package some plugins or something for Office. So otherwise, it is a very, basic build of Windows. And when I play back an application to it, just so you can see how well we integrate into the operating system, we can do something like, this big package, which is going to attach a VHD to the machine. This package has about 40 applications in it, all from one Ninite installer. So it was all done from one executable. And you can put as many applications in the VHDs as you want, and play those back to your users. And we do playback in 3 separate places. We can do at machine startup, we can do at traditionally, which is login, and then we can do what we call click to layer, which is actually just putting an icon on the desktop for the user. It's kind of a just-in-time executable. They click on it, then it attaches and mounts that VHD and presents it to the user. So you'll see all these applications, they've kind of come in. If I come back here, they show up within add remove programs. I can browse the file system and the registry and actually see that those applications live where they're supposed to live. So we have something like Terracopy. Everything's there for Terracopy. I'm going to have all my context filters if I right click any applications, and I've got Notepad++, I've got my 7-zip stuff down here. So I've got all that stuff built in. It's not application isolation, it's actually truly app layering. But more so, I like to call it app attachment, because we're taking that VHD and attaching it to the operating system for that user. We'll come back here. As Jason said, we leave everything nice and clean when we pull that out of the image, which is one of the great things about using something like application layering.
So this is the packaging console, but it also serves the test. So when he's activating these packages, you see them come up just like they're on a desktop and disappearing, just like they've been taken off the desktop. They were never there. The filter driver makes them look native.
Yeah, and it's great because I can package my application and test it right here on one console. Obviously, I want to deliver it to another test machine to make sure it's going to work in that environment, but it does make things nice and easy here. Another way that we can package applications, and we'll kick that off while we're I'm showing you the traditional way, is Jason mentioned we have FlexApp automation. So we basically have a packages file, which I can show you here, and it's going to point out to all your different installers. I just have them out on a network share, pointing out to my executables, giving it the installer arguments. And say you have something, like you have everything built out in SCCM, and you want that to be kind of the record of truth. Well, we can do something like call MSI exec.exe and then just point out to those MSIs and have it install for you from there. So I don't have to go through and worry about all those installer arguments and everything. Again, I've got them packaged. I just want to bring them online to FlexApp as quickly as possible, and bring those into either my Citrix environment, cloud environment, whatever I want to use those for. So what we do is we would just kick off this automation. We'll just go ahead and run that, and is going to just hand out these jobs to these headless packaging machines out here. And you'll see out here, I've got 2 running. It's going to tell me which ones are successful, which ones failed, and which ones I'm trying to package. Looks like I'm doing about 9 applications here. So we'll let those run. These will actually go through auto rollbacks when the package is complete. So we're going to get those nice clean applications that we want. So we don't have to worry about rolling those back between each application. It's going to go through and do that for us. And while that happens, we'll go ahead and create our own package here. We'll just do Notepad++ because I see it there on my desktop. It's a quick installation. We'll just give the installer location here. VHDX, again, we can send it directly to the cloud. In this case, I'm going to send it right here to my file share. Let's go ahead and copy that, and we can actually watch the process of this being created. It's all thin provisioned. You'll see it's expandable disk storage. So as long as I'm giving the application, enough storage, then we don't have to worry about it using more storage than that. And compression, we do have it. It's really not your friend though, because we use local compute to decompress, and storage is quite a bit cheaper than CPU. So we'll go ahead and create this. It's going to create my folder for me out here. We're going to have, that VHD is created and it's mounting, and it's going to, launch my application for me now. The way we actually package applications is pretty unique because we use what's called a thread-based packaging system. So instead of taking a snapshot before and taking a snapshot after and whatever exists in between, we actually only watch 2 threads. We watch any MSIs or executables that are launched and any changes made by the user to explorer.exe. So it allows us, to capture things pretty well, and even do things like you'll see me about to do here, just update the package as part of one capture. Even with something like Notepad++, it's kind of like a rip and replace installer. So it doesn't drive our packager crazy. We're able to capture all of this. Agree, we'll run through this one more time. We'll finish this. And we've got our package. So we can go ahead and finish that. Again, it's going to run through an uninstallation and deactivation process, so we can make sure we're leaving those images nice and clean when you're done.
So that took literally, I mean, you see the date stamps, the time stamps. It took literally like 3 minutes, and we could add another minute in, where you're filling out the form, where you want to save the thing, right? 4 minutes, and Notepad's tiny, right? And that's why we show it, because we don't have to take up a lot of time in a demo. But you can do complex applications this way. Say you're doing something that takes a long time to install, and we've even packaged up Epic for healthcare, and it's about the same time it took to install it in one PC or one server. And when you contrast that against the other solutions in the market, it's a huge time savings, and you can see why we call it fast packaging.
Yep. So I'm showing the package editor here. I realized I forgot to delete the updater folder out of there. So, I don't have to repackage it. I can just open our package editor, make that change. Easy enough. Didn't pick up the right icon file because of the way I did the update, and I messed that up. But I could even go in here and edit the package's metadata, get the right icon. But for the purpose of this, I don't really care, because that's just what's presented to me as an admin within the console. So now we'll, here you're seeing system restore initializing. So we can see my automation is still running. We'll go back here. It looks like, I've got 4 packages successful. So I've already packaged 5 applications, and I've been talking now for about 7 minutes. So, that's pretty impressive as far as what, packaging. So now we'll talk about, how do I deploy these applications? What do I do? Traditionally, we come into Profile Unity. We would come and build out a filter. So let's say I only want certain people to get these applications, and this is also really cool as far as application layering. Is I have advanced filtering within application layering. So I've got these 2 filters down here, and I'm basically just saying if the computer name contains 1909 or the other one's 20H2, I want to go ahead and mount that. But I can chain together all these different conditions, and I can say if it's a if this registry value exists, or if it's an ICA client name, or my last name is Smith and it's a Tuesday, I can get pretty granular with what I do, and then even connection types, operating systems, and machine classes. So
and you can browse the AD groups as well, right?
Correct. Yeah, it reads the Active Directory group that the machines your profile Unity console is installed on. So we can browse that out. We can enter those manually. And then we would come into our configuration and, we'd come into our FlexApp DIA module here. We'd add some rules. So the first one, we'll say, let's forget what I called those, lab 1909. So for my 1909 test, I want to install, my browsers, and I want to do some 7-zip and maybe some ditto. And, for 7-zip, we'll go ahead and enable click to layer. We'll add another FlexApp DIA rule, and we'll say, this is going to be for anything that's running a newer version of Windows.
Everything you did in the packaging console automatically to a port says this package is available to assign, and that's how they show up here, right?
Correct. Yep, they show up in the console automatically. So
like that Notepad application you just did, is it in this list, or was that
it is the one right here. So I'm
that's the one you just did, and it says it's ready to assign.
Icon.
Yeah. Right.
Yep. So we'll do some Microsoft Teams out there, and we'll just go ahead and do some Brave browser.
And those other 4 from the packaging console, I guess, are in there too, right?
Yep, you'll see all those are down here. So, go ahead and hit save. We'll update this, and we can go ahead and deploy that, and we'll deploy. So, once that's happened, and I come in and log in, I'll log in the same user on both machines, and we'll see that if everything works right, I should have 2 separate sets of applications. So we'll log in here, and we'll log in here. And again, these are 2 different operating systems using the same package. Our packages are all forward OS compatible. So as long as I'm building it on the lowest operating system in my environment and is compatible with any newer operating systems, then it's going to work. I'm not going to have to go and repackage that for those users. So in 1909, I did my browsers. I should have, I forget what else I did. I have 7-zip and I have ditto. So 7-zip, I did the click to layer, which shouldn't have actually mounted a VHD. It's going to actually deliver that once my user clicks on it. And just, so you can see, this isn't the old bait and switch. If I go into my disk management, I have my browsers, I have my ditto, and I have my 7-zip. So from there, I can launch all my applications, and they're going to run as if they're installed locally on the machine. They're going to have all my, user customized data that's coming from Profile Unity, or if I'm using, another profile management tool, FS Logic, something like that, is going to work with all of that. So, there's 1909, and let's go into 20H2. So we'll see I have a couple different applications here. I have Brave, I have my Notepad++, and then I have my Microsoft Teams. So again, if I actually come into my disk management, we'll see that all those applications are actually there and attached. So Teams, this is actually the modern app version of Teams, which is really cool because we were able to basically just take the modern app piece, put it out on the C drive, and then copy the context of moving that from the C drive to the actual program file. So we can do even things like that to help with some of those modern app issues that you have in your environment. So that is possible. Moving on, talking about FlexApp One, how do we take one of those applications and convert it to a FlexApp One? Well, we have within on our documentation website, actually, we have this bundler application, and it's just got this executable, and this executable is going to kind of bundle all those pieces that we need to make FlexApp work and self-containerize all of that. So we would basically come out and we would run that bundler against one of our applications. So if we go find an application out here, FlexApp, let's do some Chrome. Looks like I've already done Chrome. Let's try Firefox. We'll just copy that location. We'll copy that, and we'll run our build engine against that. and it's going to bundle all of that into a single executable, which I'll see out here now. You'll notice I don't have Firefox installed on this machine. And if I actually just double click on this, it's going to run and launch Firefox. And what that's doing, it's still going to run, it's still going to attach a VHC. It's all from that one single container. I could put this on a thumb drive, hand it, to my users. I can deploy this through SCCM or, even something like Microsoft Intune. So, something like, I have 3 pinball out here. And if I look at this, I'm just deploying this application. We've built in a bunch of different switches off of these as well. So I can sync this to, where I want it to live on the machine. And, I want to run it in the system context, which is going to put it in HKey local machine and all user start menu instead of, the current user stuff, as well as, do the uninstallation. I can, do my service as a dependency, and I can basically just take those applications and, deploy those, if I want to use the company portal or something like that. So my users offline can just kind of bring their own device, and I want to deploy those applications there. I'm able to do something, just like that. So, open up my company portal here.
So when you're using the company portal, that's like it's basically like self-service applications, right?
Correct. Yep.
A lot of organizations may not leverage this yet, but you can distribute them just to the company portal. Then users can look for the applications they need, and
correct.
They can be FlexApps.
Yep. So from Microsoft Endpoint Manager, Intune, whatever you want to call it, you can force the installation, or you can just give access to the company portal. I can say, I want to come in here and install a Foxit reader, come in here, do an installation, and it's going to go through and install it for me. Looks like I've installed some 7-zip already. Again, that's the FlexApp One. It should just come out here and mount that disk for me. So 7-zip's going to launch. And you'll notice down here, I actually going to have this little icon in here where I can actually launch 7-zip, or I can stop 7-zip. So I can go through, stop 7-zip, and it's going to remove the disk for me. So that's a cool feature. Maybe I have, 20 applications in a single VHD that I want to give to, all my advanced users with all their tools on them or something, and they can come through and launch whatever application and then remove it when they're done. Run multiple versions of the same application, that way, because I can stop the ones that I'm not using. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility in the way you deliver and the way you run things. And then, tying it all into Citrix, how can we deliver it all through Citrix? Well, the traditional way, which we showed, we can do that, deploy to desktops. But maybe I want to do something a little bit more advanced. So I can come in here to my applications. Let's browse that to my file share while I'm waiting for that. And we'll go out here. Let's go into FlexApp One. I've got some apps out here. So maybe I want to deploy, an application to here. We'll add manually. And what I can do is I can take that FlexApp One. I'll just copy this location. And I can just say, I want all these to live out on a file share somewhere. I don't want to go through and actually, mess with installing these on my VDAs, and I want to get these to my users quick. I can do something like this. I gotta give it a name. Trying to get ahead of myself here. And finish. I can also, add an application. Traditionally, what I would see out here, if I'm, doing from the start menu, I'm just going to have whatever installed in my VDA. So if I want to do, if I want to restart my VDA and I come back to my console here and I have my VDA startup and I want to just attach, that big package at the beginning. If I want I can do that at startup time. So we'll go ahead and deploy, and we can restart that VDA. And that will give us access to all the other applications, or we can even call out a JIT-cut application. So we can point to our JIT-cut executable, which is our just-in-time executable, and then point to a traditional FlexApp, and it won't actually mount that application until a user actually clicks on it. So it'll just
If
keep
it's
our
a
VDAs nice and clean that way as well.
virtual apps environment, it'll second user doesn't have to wait. It's already there, right?
Correct. Yeah. So the second user who connects to that VDA will not have to wait for it to load,
Yeah.
just the first user. So, if you're concerned about resource consumption, that's a great use case. We'll just wait for my VDA to start. We start here, and I can kind of show what that would look like. But yeah, so lots of different ways you can go about, deploying applications. We really put it in your hands. What works best for your organization? Are you trying to keep VDAs clean? We want to get you out of managing images and, just build a really good, clean base image and manage your application separately. That's the whole point of using something like FlexApp. And we, with the additions of FlexApp One, using them offline for those laptop users, using them from a file share like I just showed you with Pinball, or even using the JIT-cut exe, or whatever you want to do. It's we try to allow you to work what's best for your organization and take your pre-existing applications with our FlexApp automation from SCCM and easily convert those over to FlexApp, so you're able to onboard quickly, and you don't have to hire a package or come package hundreds or thousands of applications for you.
It's good. Wanting to leave room for questions, make sure we get to all of them too.
Yep, so we can start answering questions. I'll just kind of show what I was talking about from here. Wait for that to attach. I want to manually, I can browse out 207. So here I would go to my profile Unity, I'd go to my FlexApp folder, my click to layer folder, and then this JIT-cut app. I'd call that, and then basically I would just point out to where that application lives within my operating system here.
What about applications that have drivers? That's a question that we need to answer. It's a good question. You gonna take it, Adam?
Yeah, it doesn't matter if your application has drivers or not, as long as they don't, as long as the kernel is loaded and it doesn't have, it's not something like with a pre-boot kernel, we don't care, because we load after the kernel loads, so we can't do anything like that. But drivers, we can, I have some customers who actually just package all their printer drivers into a single FlexApp and deliver that to their users, because then they can manage it from a central location and they don't have to worry about pushing that out different ways.
Yeah, drivers are not a challenge for us, but that's the native approach of FlexApp. You're not running in an isolated mode. It looks native to the OS and to other apps. So something like the Bonjour service from Apple, it's going to look native to iTunes, and it's going to look native to the other Apple applications that may need it. Just an example, because it's not isolated.
Well, that's the fun thing with live demos, right?
Our app package is isolated from other apps that are connected. I just answered that one, so that's good. They're not isolated. They look very native, and that filter driver makes them look native for the registry and the file system. So everywhere they need to interact, they'll interact.
Yep, so we do have two forms of isolation technically. The first one is the session isolation. So if two users are connecting to the same VDA, and one user has access to an application and another one does not, we will not present that to the second user who does not have access to the application. So that's called session isolation. It's not isolation like an app V or a thin app where we're putting it in a containerized bubble. It's just not allowing the other user to see it. And we have what we call micro isolation, which allows us, if there's like shared DLL or registry files, we're able to redirect the call of those back to the attached VHD, so you can make two applications kind of coexist on the same machine that share, different versions of DLL or registry keys. Again, not application isolation. We're only isolating the DLLs or the registry files that have conflict. If there's no conflicts that occur, then there's no isolation going on.
Mm-hmm. We got a couple related questions too regarding virtual app servers, Zen app servers. Some people may still think of. If multiple users have access to the same app, does each connect, or each one connected already? Does the second access the connected one? And that's what Adam was talking about. Session isolation. You can give all users on that server access, or you can say all users on that server have access only to their unique apps, and that's session isolation. So that keeps your base image extremely light in a big way, because you no longer have to build out base image servers for each department. So accounting people, for example, and HR people can be on the same virtual app server and not see each other's apps unless they're given permissions to see them and use them. And that's session isolation. How does FlexApp handle inter-application dependencies? Does each container, for example, get a Java installation or make callouts to a PDF reader?
So there's a couple ways that you can go about handling that. You can, build the dependencies into your base image. And again, the FlexApps, Java is always a tough one, because FlexApp does work completely, transparent to Windows. So, Windows has no idea that the application is not actually installed there. So it just depends on how the application calls Java and what version of Java it needs. So the answer there is it kind of depends on the application itself.
Ray said, we just got this set up in our environment, and I can say it's really nice and cleaner than the rest. Thanks, Ray. And how does licensing work? So FlexApp is licensed per however you want to license it technically, right? So some of our best solutions that are working well with our customers these days is a subscription-based licensing, so it matches up with your Citrix licensing. So that's one way to do it, and you can do it on a per user basis and not have to worry about per machine. We can license concurrently or not concurrently. So we're flexible in the way that we can license. We can still license perpetually too. If subscription licensing doesn't work, a lot of times that matches up with the Citrix licensing. So you can inquire with that. So very, very flexible the way that we work. Now you've seen references to Profile Unity throughout. You saw the splash screen come up for the agent when full-blown FlexApp is running. I just want to clarify that FlexApp and Profile Unity, when you're running full FlexApp, shares the same agent, and that's why you saw that. We leverage the context-aware settings in Profile Unity and other things. If you already have a UEM solution, and this is related to another question, do we work with Avanti UEM, for example? Yes, we do. If you already have another UEM solution, you talk to us about licensing of just the FlexApp components and not worry about having to license something you don't need in your environment because you feel like you're already covered in that way. But there are specific benefits there's huge cost benefits in licensing Profile Unity and FlexApp together, and you'll get all the application elevation and all those other nice things and registry modifications, a lot of things we mentioned, in one context set of rules. We have upgrade and trade over licensing available if you've been on any of our competing UEM solutions out there, like the one I mentioned. So you can inquire with us if your renewal's coming up. Let us know, and we'll talk through it, and we may be able to switch you over for little to no differentiation in cost, because you'd be paying that anyway. So let us know about that. And someone asked if their Liquidware black T-shirts could be given away or to be had, and maybe they're talking about a lot of people in Europe may call these even T-shirts. We'd call them a golf shirt, but I think that's what they meant. These are usually for employees that I'm wearing. We do have dark gray ones that we've had out, but heck, if you're a FlexApp customer, let us know, and we'll send you one of these. I'll find a way to get you a shirt if that's the case. So we'll throw in a FlexApp shirt if you're licensing FlexApp, I'd say. The self-service one was answered too. because of we showed how you could do that in the company store. You can also do that with click to layer, just dropping off stub icons, and then they're basically self-servicing. But once you put it in the company store, that's that really cool thing where users can just nominate to get their own apps and they run. They don't have to make a call to the service desk. They see all the apps available that they have. So that one was answered as well. ServiceNow integration we do not have for this solution, but we do have it for Stratosphere to being able to get monitoring into ServiceNow. But we've got self-service with the Microsoft built-in set that we demonstrated today.
We do have a full API though for Profile Unity, so we can make PowerShell calls, or I'm
Yes,
sure,
we could do
if you wanted to build
Yep.
an API out that might call and do some automation or DevOps on the back end, we can absolutely work with you to do that.
I got down to the list of questions I downloaded. Do you see any others, Bart or Adam?
No, those are basically the main ones.
Okay, great.
You're answering the questions as you went along. So every time a question popped up, it answered in a slide or two. So it was fantastic.
Yeah, we covered many of them, and then we shared out the answers verbally. So that was good. Any thoughts, Bart, on what you saw in the demo? Or
Yeah, it looked great. I've been battling FV all day long since before the webinar, so I feel a pain.
Yeah. Well, we'd be glad to help you, help anybody watching. To download, you can go to liquidware.com and you fill out a quick form. You can download today. We've got documentation links out there, and you're not going to have to wait on a call from Liquidware where we're going to pre-qualify the download. We want you to play with it, so you can download Profile Unity with FlexApp. That's the package you want to download from us. And there's a license key built in for the first 15 days, and then you can reach out to us and we'll let you know. So the packaging console, that's sometimes used on VMware Workstation, or you could use it on any virtual machine. The point is to be able to roll that back. The Profile Unity Management Console is a Windows server. That's where FlexApp, the unified console, runs. So you'll need a Windows server to point to when you do this, and you'll need storage. And you'll obviously need some test machines. So a test group for Citrix endpoint devices, or something like that. And with that in mind, you could be testing FlexApp within the next hour and a half or so without waiting on a call back from us. So that's how to try it. We have a brand new FlexApp white paper also available, and I don't have a link to that readily available, but you can download it. Look up FlexApp white paper on Google, and I'm sure you'll find it, or on Bing, or whatever you choose to use, and you'll be able to download that. It's got information in there about FlexApp One, and it was recently updated in the last couple of weeks. So you can read more and share it with your groups.
Maybe, Jason, afterwards you can send it to me and I can include it with the follow-up email.
Yep, that'd be great. I might be able to put a link in the window here if people stay on for a moment. Adam, any other thoughts?
No, the one thing I did kind of want to elaborate on is you said, it's licensed by user, which is really cool. If I have user who logs into, a physical desktop and a Citrix environment, it's still only one license to us. So, they can get all their applications wherever they log in, and it's the same cost. So that's pretty cool.
Stephanie, I sent you the link. If you can send it to everybody there in the chat window. I don't know if I have the right permission to.
No, I got it, and Ray Davis found it too. So thanks, Ray.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, well, we ready to wrap up?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, glad to have you. There I am. Hi. I know some of you guys may have opted in for a chance to win Amazon gift card. So as soon as this webinar is over, I will pull the attendee list and use the Google number randomizer to randomly select today's winner. And so be on the lookout for an email from me, or you can follow us on Twitter and I will tweet the winner out there as well. And that's really it for today. I want to thank you all for being with us. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Jason. And thank you, Bart. It's great to have you all with us today.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
We're already looking forward to the next time we get together. So it looks like we could go to the movies with you soon from the list there. So you see the guys are always the great thing.
That's right. You can pick Louisville or Nashville.
Right.
And I think Madison is having a movie premiere coming up soon too. So I don't know if it's the same movie.
Nashville's
All
just a
right.
3-hour drive. I could be there.
Oh, very nice. Well, I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you on another CUGC event soon, hopefully next week at the West XL. So see you all soon. Have a great day.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everyone.
Thanks, Stephanie. Thanks,
Bye.
Bart. Bye, Adam.